In this video, I want to share with you 20 things that you need to know before you start selling on Amazon if you're a complete beginner. This video might come off a little bit negative, but how many videos have you watched where everyone just shares all the best things? Like, how many businesses have you started where it's like, oh, you're gonna make all this money, it's so easy, you're gonna crush it? And don't get me wrong, I love selling on Amazon. If you actually take a look into my screen right here, these are my sales over the last year. So I've sold 11,360 items, almost $600,000 in sales. My average selling price is about $51. So on $600,000 in sales approximately, I've made about $150,000 profit. So don't get me wrong. I mean, I've sold just in the last 2 years, almost $1 million. I'm at about 800 and change, okay, in sales. So don't get me wrong. I love selling on Amazon, but there's so many videos out there where they're just blowing smoke up your you-know-what. And it's like you start the business and you're like, wow, this is a lot harder than it sounds. Like, nobody told me about this. So I'm going to be real with you guys in this video. I want to share 20 things you need to know. Are you thinking about selling on Amazon? Do you want to start going to thrift stores or do wholesale or online arbitrage or private label? Do you want to start selling products? Do you want to start making money? Then you're in the right place. But let's cover these 20 things. Now, be sure to stay until the end because I'm going to share some things that nobody's going to talk about on these videos, or you're going to have to watch 50, 60 videos to find out all this information. This is from 10 years of experience. This is from coaching and helping hundreds of thousands of people over the last 10 years. I have nothing to sell you in this video. I literally just want to make a video that I can send people to so you're more aware of realistically what it takes in the process of getting started, the hurdles you're going to go through, and some of the things that you're going to need to know. So with that being said, hit that like button, show some love, leave a comment down below, let me know where you're from, and let's get into this video. The first thing you need to know when you want to sell on Amazon is it's not like eBay. It's not like Facebook Marketplace. You actually have to get approved to sell on Amazon. So Amazon has a verification process that you're going to have to go through. Now, it's typically a little bit different for each seller. This could include jumping on a Zoom call. This could include having a postcard sent to your address. They want to verify your address. This can include a bunch of different things on top of having to share your credit card information, your banking account, making sure everything matches up. So if you're thinking about selling on Amazon and maybe you want to start in like a month or two, get started now because sometimes the verification process could take a week or two. The second thing you need to know about selling on Amazon is there's a free plan, but there's also a paid plan, okay? So the free plan, there's a lot of downsides. You're not going to be able to use third-party apps. Every time you sell an item, you're going to have to pay an extra $1. You're not going to win the buy box. There's a lot of downsides to having the free Amazon plan. Now, on the other side of the coin, there's what's known as a pro plan. The pro plan is $39.99 per month. You can use third-party scanning apps, listing apps. You'll be able to get Ungated. You're not going to have to pay that extra $1. There's a lot of benefits and reasons why you're going to want a pro plan. I would recommend if you're starting, eat that cost, pay the $39.99 a month. A lot of people are going to say, start with the free individual plan. Don't do it. Moving into 2024, you want to have the pro plan. The third thing you need to know before you start selling on Amazon is there's two ways to sell on Amazon. Number one is a merchant seller. Think of a merchant seller like selling on eBay. When you're an eBay seller, you're a merchant. When you buy inventory, you store it at your house. When it sells, you pick it, you pack it, you ship it to the customer, you deal with returns, you have to answer questions and, deal with all that stuff. That's what a merchant seller is on Amazon, okay? Now, there's benefits to being a merchant seller like increased cash flow, less fees, you don't have to pay storage fees. But on the other side of the coin, there's something known as FBA. So instead of being a merchant seller where you might pay a little less in fees, but you have to do all the work, an FBA seller stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. So this means when you buy all your products, you label them and then you ship them to the fulfillment centers. They're all over the country. Now, this costs money. It's more expensive, but you save a ton of time. Now, a lot of people are going to say, be a merchant. I actually recommend being an FBA seller because you could sell items for more money. You can leverage your time and you could focus on sourcing instead of having to deal with returns and deal with messages and packing up one item at a time. When you're an FBA seller, you get to put everything in a box, label it all, ship it off to Amazon, and literally they do everything and you get paid. The fourth thing that you need to know before you start selling on Amazon, and this is a bummer. Again, this is one of these tips where Gurus and YouTubers aren't going to tell you about this. It's disappointing for a lot of new sellers. Did you know that Amazon actually has what are known as reserve tiers for new sellers? So when you're a new seller, there's 3 different tiers. Tier number 1, I believe they hold your money, like all your money for 14 days. Tier number 2, I don't know the exact percentages. I'll put up an article down below. I think they hold maybe 3% of all your sales. And then tier 3, they're holding a little less. Essentially what they're doing is they're saying, hey, Joe Schmo, we don't know you. We don't trust you. You're selling on our platform. We're not going to give you your money until we trust you. So I believe it's about 14 days, upwards to about 30 days where they're going to hold on to your money. So that's why I said before, get started a couple months before you want. Start sending in items, start selling stuff around your house because there's the verification process and they're going to hold on to your money. So don't start selling on Amazon when you need money now because you ain't going to get it because of the Amazon reserve tiers. The 5th thing you need to know before you start selling on Amazon is even though you're paying $39.99 a month to sell on Amazon, and Amazon gives you a way to be able to list your products and ship them through Amazon Seller Central, listing products through Amazon Seller Central is extremely slow. So I would highly recommend looking into a third-party listing app. Now, there's a whole bunch of them out there. I personally use an app called GoToLister, and this allows you to be able to price items fast, list items fast. When you list an item, a label will pop out. You know, when it comes to making money on Amazon, I mean, really any business, speed and moving quickly is the name of the game. So if you want to list your items 3, 4, 5 times faster, get off of Amazon Seller Central as quick as possible. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to abandon your pro plan. You need that. But if you're really serious about making thousands of dollars per month, of course, it's going to take time. And I always tell people it takes a good 3 to 6 months to really get the ball moving. You're going to get yourself GoToLister or another software, and it's on top of Amazon. It is an additional fee. But once you start getting more serious, you're not going to want to be spending 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes listing each item. Whereas if you use GoToLister, you can literally list items in like 10 seconds. It'll auto price it for you. It'll save settings. A label will print out. So I'll put a link down below to that. You can get a free 30-day trial at rakeandprofit.com/GoToLister. But again, this is something that I wish I knew when I first started because I wasted so much time. The 6th thing that I wish I knew, and this is something that I definitely want to tell you about, is get yourself a good printer, okay? Before you start selling on Amazon, I mean, you could use the one around your house. You could use your HP inkjet. The problem is inkjet printers, you're going to have to use special 30-up labels to print the F and SKUs. Now, an F and SKU, we'll put a picture on the screen. That's the little label that's going to identify the product, the price, the condition. You label it over the barcode. The problem is you're going to have to get 30-up labels, and I'll put them on the screen so you guys can see. It's just expensive to replace the ink, and it's expensive for the 30-up labels. You could get a Brother laser printer as well. Now, this is the next step up from an inkjet because you're going to be using toner, and it's a lot less expensive. The problem is you're still going to have to use 30-up labels. What I would highly recommend getting is a Rollo label printer. So if you go to rakeandprofit.com/Rollo, I'll put the link on the screen. That's the exact printer I use. And the reason this is important is because not only is it going to print out the F and SKU labels, which are the little tiny barcodes you have to stick over every product so Amazon could identify it, but when you go to ship your items out, you're going to get discounted rates through UPS, and you're going to have to print out a 4x6 label. The Rollo printer could do both of those. So every time you scan an item to the system, boom, the F and SKU will print out, and I'll put some B-roll on the screen of that. And then it'll also print out the UPS label to stick on the outside of the Amazon box. So again, having a streamlined workflow and working very quickly using, a good printer, using GoToLister can help a ton. The 7th thing that I wish I knew about selling on Amazon, and something you should definitely know before you start, is Amazon, they're not your friend. I hate to say this, okay? Amazon will allow you to list products that lose you money. Let me repeat myself. They will allow you to list a product for $5, for $7 that might have $5, $7, $8, $10 in fees. The fees go based on the size, the dimension, the category, so on and so forth. But Amazon will allow you to list items for a loss. So what's the lesson? When you're scanning products and analyzing products, I'd recommend using the Amazon Seller app. You can also use some other apps as well, like Scout IQ or Scoutly. Again, I'll put links to that all down below. If you go to rakeandprofit.com/tools, you can see all the tools I use for scanning, barcode scanners. But you have to make sure to look and do your due diligence. Okay, what are the fees going to be? How much am I going to make? How much profit am I going to make? So be very careful that you don't just send Amazon or list anything on Amazon because the fees are really high. You know, it could be anywhere from 30 to 40% fees. Now, it might sound like a lot, which it is, but you have to understand, especially if an FBA seller, who cares what the fees are? You want to know how much you're making per hour. So you're able to leverage the fulfillment by Amazon system and leverage the higher prices you get on Amazon compared to like eBay and Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. But do your research, do your diligence, make sure you're only selling items on Amazon that will make you money, because Amazon will take their fee and you'll be left with nothing if you're not careful. The eighth thing that you need to know before you sell on Amazon, especially moving into 2024, is you do not want to send Amazon, like I told you before, low ticket items that are going to lose you money, but also items that are either low profit or slow selling. So when you scan an item using the Amazon seller app, you're going to be able to see what the sales rank is. You're going to be able to see how many sellers are on the listing. And also, I highly recommend getting a tool called Keepa. Now, there's a free plan and then there's a $20 a month plan. Get this tool because when you're on desktop, it'll tell you how many times it's selling, how often it's selling, is it seasonality, how often is Amazon taking the sale or letting third-party sellers get the sale through buy box statistics. So, you know, one thing I wish I knew, and one of the biggest mistakes I see new sellers making, they might book a one-on-one coaching call with me and I go through the inventory and it's all like $8, $9, $10 items, or maybe there's books and items that are selling for 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks, but then I go and I take a look and it's never selling. The rank is 15 million, right? It's a 6 million rank book or a 400,000 rank DVD. I don't even know if they go that high. So you have to remember, who cares about the profit? You want to make sure that there's a balance between profit and sales velocity. You could have the most profitable item in the world, but if it never sells, you don't have anything. So you've got to be very, very careful that, like I said before for tip 7, Amazon will take your money from you. They'll let you sell things for a loss. And tip number 8, don't sell slow selling items on Amazon. Do your research and keep in mind, if you send something to Amazon and it never sells, you're going to incur storage fees every single month. After 6 months, you're going to get hit with long-term storage fees. So that could turn a book from being charged 2 to 3 to 5 cents per month or 7 or 10 cents a month up to 50 cents or $1 or $2 per month with long-term storage fees. And remember, if an item never sells and you want to either A, dispose of it or get it shipped back to you, that can cost you $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $10 depending on the item and the size and the weight. So you've got to be very particular about what you send to Amazon. The 9th thing that you need to know before you start selling on Amazon, and when you start selling, you're going to learn this very quick. When you're creating a shipment and you're selling through FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, all your stuff doesn't always go in one box to one warehouse. Sometimes you'll list 100 items and they're going to send it to 8 different warehouses. So the challenge with this is it starts to create more time for the listing and the shipping process. It takes more organization. That's why I highly recommend getting a software like GoToLister. It'll help you keep your items and your shipments organized much better. And they have a box contents feature, which allows you to scan all your items and they'll tell you this goes in box 1, this goes in box 2, this goes in box 3. Now, there is also another option called inventory placement option. I believe this costs like 30 cents per item, I believe. And they'll allow you to take all of your items and ship it to one warehouse, okay? The downside to that is it will typically cause your check-in times to slow down because they're going to let you send everything to one warehouse, but then they're going to disperse it anyways afterwards, and you're going to have a bunch of FC transfers. So my recommendation would be to get something like GoToLister to make sure when all your items are getting dispersed to different warehouses and you have 7 different boxes that you know what product goes in the right box and you make sure that you're getting your items checked in quickly. The 10th thing that you need to know about selling on Amazon, again, I know I'm talking about a lot of the negative, disappointing stuff, and, you know, I'll make another video in the future talking about a million things I love, but, you know, those videos are a dime a dozen. They're out there. They're all over the place. But one thing you have to realize is once you ship your items to Amazon, they're not going to get checked in instantly. You know, I have times where My items get checked in 3 days. I ship an item out and it's for sale and listed and sold in 5 days. I've had times where it takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks for it to get checked in, especially during the fourth quarter when you move into November and December. The fulfillment centers are just getting jammed up. So just know when you sell FBA, you've got to print out your UPS label, put it in the box. You have to ship it. You have to wait for it to get to the warehouse. Sometimes it'll be dispersed to different warehouses through what are known as FC transfers. And sometimes this causes cash flow issues in your business. This is why there's pros and cons to being a merchant versus being FBA. FBA, you're going to leverage your time. You're typically going to make more money for the most part. But then as a merchant, you pay less fees. You have more control. You don't have to pay storage fees. You don't have to dispose of things. You control the whole logistical process of it. You don't have to wait for things to get checked in. You could sell things a lot quicker. You can improve your cash flow. So there's a trade-off. If you're a busy entrepreneur running multiple businesses like myself, and I'm traveling and I'm doing different things, I don't have the time to be a merchant. But if you do, there's certainly a lot of benefits to it. But just keep in mind, check-in times could vary. They could take weeks and sometimes they could take a month. The 11th thing that I wish I knew, and you definitely want to know before you sell on Amazon, is it's not all rainbows and it's not all peaches and rainbows, right? There are times when you're selling as an FBA seller where, let me get in close, they will lose your shipment. Oh, yep, that's true. They will lose your shipment. Now, the good news is if you're buying from traditional online arbitrage sources or wholesale or private label, or you have actual invoices, you'll typically be able to get your money back. But if you're selling stuff from around your house, thrift stores, eBay to Amazon, Facebook Marketplace, stuff from garage sales or consignment shops, pawn shops, stuff like that, where you don't have itemized, legitimate invoices, they lose a shipment, you're pretty much SOL. So the lesson is just know there's probably going to come a time, maybe once or twice a year, where they lose your shipment. Now, I've sold over 12,000 products in the last year. I haven't had an entire shipment loss this year. I have had some reconciliation issues where they were expecting 50 units and they only got 46 or 47. Sometimes they lose them. Years ago, I've had shipments lost and 3 months later they find it. I have had shipments lost in the past. The good news is if you average it out over the long term, it's really just pennies on the dollar. But just know there's flaws to the system when you're selling through the Fulfillment by Amazon program. The 12th thing that you need to know when you're just getting started on Amazon, especially if you're a new seller, is you're not going to win the buy box as much as a seasoned Amazon seller. For someone who's been selling for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, who has more feedback, who has more orders, has more items in inventory, has a better positive reputation, you're not going to win the buy box as much. Now, I'll make a video about this in the future, exactly how to win the buy box and the benefits. But just keep in mind, I'll cover tip 12 and 13. Now, 12 is you're not going to win the buy box as much, which means your sale conversions are going to be a little bit lower until, which tip number 13 is, it's really hard to get feedback. So the thing you need to know, number 13, is you have to get more feedback. But the issue is you might only get one positive feedback for every 100 items you sell. I mean, it's really tough on Amazon to get positive feedback. I mean, I've sold, over 12,000 products in the last year, and I've only gained about 300 feedback. So I don't know if that's the same percentage comparison there, but people, like buyers on Amazon, don't leave feedback very often. So just know when you're a new seller, Amazon's holding on to your money a little bit. They're not trusting you. And the fact of the matter is, again, a lot of the gurus aren't going to tell you this, but they don't need you and they don't need me. Like, even though I've done $500,000 in sales, I'm a nobody. I'm a small little fish. And if you're only doing a couple thousand a month, they don't give a freaking damn about you. It's just the way it is. So you have to earn your trust with Amazon. Amazon has millions of billions of customers every single year. There's tons of opportunities, but just know, and this is another reason why you want to get started a couple months before you're really needing the money or you're really going to get serious about it, because there's a time where you're going to have to sell products. They're going to hold your money. They're not going to trust you. You're not going to win the buy box as much. I mean, it stinks, but it's just the reality of selling on Amazon in 2023, 2024. The 14th thing that you're going to need to know, and this is another bummer. You're probably thinking to yourself, why am I even going to sell on Amazon? Again, there's a lot of great things about Amazon, but I'm just covering the things that people don't talk about. A lot of the products that you're going to want to sell, like for example, say you want to sell a DVD, you're not going to be able to sell it until you get an invoice from a distributor to be able to prove to Amazon that you have a legitimate source. Now, there are a lot of items you can sell without getting ungated, like books and some video games and some board games. And, there's different products you can sell, but just know, especially moving forward into 2024, you're going to have to learn how to get Ungated. If you want to sell Lego, you're going to have to go to the Lego website, buy 10, get the invoice, add product, upload the invoice, and then you'll be able to sell it. If you want to sell DVDs, you might have to go to christianbook.com, buy 10, just find 10 of the cheapest ones, all the same title. Make sure the ASIN is active on Amazon, get the invoice, and get Ungated. People aren't going to tell you this, but you do have to get Ungated. It's not hard, but it does cost money. So if you're serious about getting started on Amazon, start now. Get started before you're ready, because Amazon's only making it harder and harder for new sellers to get started and to make money and to enjoy the cash flow. They're holding on to your money. And the reason is they have tons of sellers already. They don't need 1,000,001 other sellers who aren't serious, who aren't going to respect the rules of the platform. I mean, Amazon's one of the biggest companies for a reason. They have a lot of systems. I know they're not perfect, and a lot of people don't like Amazon, but the fact is there's a lot of rules, and they're making it more and more challenging. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if in the future they want to see pay stubs and they want to prove that you have business experience. Like, I'm telling you, it's way different than it was when I started back in, 2012, 13, 14, 15. It's getting harder and harder. So start now and just work your way through getting Ungated. And if you are restricted on a product, sometimes you can get auto Ungated. So click the Ungate button where you're restricted and see if they'll auto approve you. A lot of times they will for specific brands. The 15th thing that you're going to need to know before selling on Amazon, this list is never going to end, right? You're really thinking, man, there's a lot that I need to know. Well, this is serious business that you can make money with, but there's a lot of different things you're going to need to know. Number 15, keep in mind, and this is another downside, customers can essentially return an item for whatever reason, and customers will scam you. They will. I was going through some of my Amazon returns just yesterday, and there was a lot of switcheroos going on. Bait and what is it called? Where they, say you sell a brand new. There was a Sony cassette player I had picked up on eBay for like $150, sold it for $300, and I got the return back. And guess what they did? They literally swapped it out. They took their old one from freaking 1997 that was all beat up and smashed up and old, and they swapped it out and got the return. Now, Amazon is cracking down on this a little more. I know there's been some articles posted over the last couple months where they're starting to track the returns a bit more and maybe try to protect the sellers a little bit more. But man, I don't feel protected at all. I feel like I'm running around naked, freaking completely vulnerable on Amazon. The good news is if you sell good products in good condition and you list them correctly and you stay away from like high risk categories like used electronics, and certain used products are going to be higher returns like DVDs and books and things like that. My return rate's like 3%. But when I start getting into like used items and tools and electronics, it can get up to 6, 7, 8%. If you start getting into like used computer stuff and routers, it can get a lot higher than that. So you want to do some testing with the returns, but just know there's a lot of scumbag customers out there, and unfortunately, Amazon doesn't protect you very well. The 16th thing that you need to know before selling on Amazon for beginners in 2024 is you have to understand that selling fees are a lot higher than eBay. Typically, if you're going to sell FBA, the fees are going to come to around like 30, 35%. And I know it hurts and it sounds like a lot, but you have to understand, typically you're going to be able to sell your items for like 30% more, if not more than that, compared to like eBay or any other platform. So while the fees are higher, you're spending a lot less time because you're leveraging the fulfillment centers. They're doing all the work for you. You literally have thousands of Amazon workers picking your products, dealing with the returns, shipping them, dealing with all that customer service stuff. So I would say the benefits are way higher than selling on eBay. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to go back to selling on eBay seriously, just because items sell for much less. They sell a lot slower. And this is coming from someone who used to run a full-time business for almost 5 years. I mean, Amazon's way, 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 way better than eBay, I would say, in terms of like generating real income. eBay's way funner. You're never going to have more fun than selling on eBay, and eBay's still amazing, but the algorithm stinks over there. It's so up and down. And, with Amazon, you don't really have to worry about the algorithm as much. You just have to do your research and make sure there's a good market, make sure you build your feedback, make sure you price items correctly, get yourself a repricer on the back end eventually. And, overall the fees are a lot higher. So you got to do your research, but I would say the rewards, definitely overcome that. Number 17, you can get in trouble for selling certain products even if you're ungated. So hear this out. There's something known as IP complaints. These are intellectual property complaints. So say, for example, this actually happened to me previously in the past. So I sold a DVD. okay? I forgot what it was called. What was that DVD called? Everybody in my eBay to Amazon masterclass knows I always make jokes about it, but it's a stretching DVD. It's like for women and stretching and different things like that. I forget what it's called. For anyone in the eBay to Amazon masterclass, drop a comment down below, remind me. But essentially this DVD, this was back when I was like a bit newer with eBay to Amazon flips and I was still making mistakes. I got an IP complaint and I could have gotten suspended because the brand was selling the product and they essentially said, I don't have the right to sell it. And I got in trouble with Amazon and, luckily I cleaned it up and I didn't really, I didn't have like any bad strikes on my account or anything. But even though you're not restricted or maybe you're ungated, you still have to make sure, number one, I would stay away from listing products that brand's on. Number two, I would make sure there's like 3 or 4 sellers at least on it. If there's only 1 or 2 sellers, make sure the brand's not selling it. Make sure if you look in Keepa at the number of sellers that there wasn't 15 sellers and boom, it went down to 2 sellers. Where the heck did those 13 sellers go? Well, they could have sold out, but more likely there was an IP complaint where everybody got kicked off or they got counterfeit claims. So you really have to be careful and just know all because Amazon says, oh, you got the clear and you're good to sell it. You still have to do your research. So after this video, go in and type in, rake and profit, IP complaints. I have a bunch of videos that talk about how to prevent it and how to keep your account safe. It's pretty easy, but most people never tell you this when you're new. The 18th thing that you need to know when you're selling on Amazon is you can't just price your items whatever you want. Maybe there's a specific book where nobody's selling it and you're like, oh, I'm going to put it at $400. Well, what's going to happen on Amazon is they're going to hit you with what's known as a high pricing error. So sometimes your items might disappear out of your inventory and you're like, where the heck did my item go? Well, your item went stranded because they pretty much tagged your product as being overly priced. So, a lot of these changes happened during 2020 when, there was a lot of controversy going on with Amazon and people taking advantage of others. But now there's this new thing called high pricing errors. So you want to take a look at what the item sold for in the past, what's a reasonable price, and it's still pretty good. It's just you can't price your items like a crazy person because Amazon will get mad at you and your items will go stranded. Number 19. Amazon will charge you money to destroy your inventory or have them shipped back to you. So I alluded to this previously, but keep in mind, you have to research your items. Make sure you're only sending them good stuff that's going to sell, because if your items don't sell or if you need to dispose of it, which you could pay Amazon a fee to destroy it or ship it back to you, it used to be 50 cents back in the day. Now it could be $2, $3, $4, $5, $6. So make sure you don't just send, maybe you got a whole bunch of books for free, like 500. You just sent them all in like, oh, it's selling for $7 or $8. You ain't going to make anything selling a $7 or $8 or a $9 book. Even if you do, it's like pennies on the dollar and it's your time, and some of those items aren't going to sell. You're going to lose your butt just sending everything in. So that's why you have to really, really be careful. Go to my channel, look up the videos. If you haven't yet, go through my free 5-day workshop. If you go to rakeandprofit.com/workshop, it's over 2 hours where I walk you through how to price, how to list, how to ship, how to do it all, how to not make the stupid mistakes that I made in the beginning. But I'll tell you right now, don't send any and everything to Amazon. You have to be picky. And last but not least, number 20, making any real money with Amazon takes a minimum of 3 to 6 months. And I would say realistically, 6 to 12 months. I know people don't want to hear this. A lot of people don't want to say that because they're trying to sell you courses and they're trying to, get you all excited and get you into their $2,000 course. And then, then it's past the refund policy and too bad. Well, now you know. In this video, these are 20 things you have to be aware of. Verification process. You have to pay for the pro plan. There's pros and cons to FBA versus MF. Amazon's going to hold on to your money. Listing on Amazon Seller Central is really slow. You're going to want to upgrade and pay for better tools and softwares. Don't send Amazon low ticket items. Don't send them slow stuff. Shipments could disappear. Sometimes they lose your stuff. Sometimes you have to ship to multiple warehouses, which is annoying. Check-in times could take weeks, or even sometimes it could take upwards to a month. When you're a new seller, you're going to be at a big disadvantage winning the buy box. Getting feedback on Amazon as a new seller is challenging. That's why you want to get started 1, 2, 3, 4 months before you're even ready. Selling any and everything isn't usually the best idea. You want to make sure to do your due diligence. You want to get ungated. You want to know your numbers because fees are definitely high. So put in that 6 to 12 month period. Set a goal that you're going to get started, and you're going to take small little baby steps. You're going to make your first sale, then you're going to make your first $100, and then your first $1,000. I mean, I taught my mom how to do this 10 years ago. For anyone who's been following me, she does around $3,000 to $5,000 a month. I mean, she's 69, she's retired, she's on Social Security, so she just does it for fun. But she's been doing this for years. If I've been able to do it, someone who had dropped out of high school a while ago and was arrested, and I didn't have any money or skills. Like, I had to learn all this. Like, same with my mom. Like, she had to learn. She had no tech skills. Like, if we were able to do it, you could certainly do it. But just keep in mind, I've been doing this for 10 years. The people you see succeeding and making money, half of them probably ain't even making money because it's really easy to fake screenshots. But, I'll be a little nice in this video. The fact is, if you want to get results and have success in this business, it takes time. You got to invest your time. You got to build your skills. You have to learn. You have to get punched in the face and get knocked down and get back up again. And I don't care what business you're in. People are going to lie to you and blow smoke up you. You know what? Any business you want to start, forget about Amazon. It takes time. It takes practice. And if you're willing to put in that time, you will see success. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Check out the free 5-day book selling workshop, rakeandprofit.com/workshop. That'll get you moving. Check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you want to check out any of the tools or resources that I use, check out the links down below. But with that being said, smash that like button, and hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.